If I ran the world, I would teach the world a new creation story. Every civilization has one. Every civilization has a story about where they came from, what they're doing here, what purpose of life is. We have an old one. It served us very well before, when the Industrial Revolution and rugged individualists built this incredible world we have. But then it kept going. It kept going with material success being the objective. And then more and more material ended up in fewer and fewer hands because they were successful. And the rest of us, how much of the world is in survival?
Tell me your story to make my world aglow. Tell me your story, I really want to know. Susan Taylor, I'm so glad you're here to enter my home, my heart, my space. And I reach out to you and thank you for taking the time and the opportunity to fill us up.
Well, I'm so pleased that you recognized me from the many things we've been on together, not really knowing each other, but seeing each other in the same Zooms. And I'm so glad that you picked out my being, me, as somebody worth talking to. I love communicating the unique kind of perspective that I have, where I'm looking for other unique people like you to rally around and join forces and become a force for the good. I've got all my energy focused on that now. And strangely enough, I seem to be the only person doing that. So shall I take off here and give you my story, Mary, or you want to have any more to say before you launch me?
Well, we know the reason you're here, and I need you to know that I have a handy pad here that I may jot down some notes, and that's just for my benefit. So please don't be distracted by that. Suzanne, tell me your story.
Well, may the world take notes. I was alluding to the fact that it is very bizarre that I am the only person I can find, and I keep looking, who's trying to figure out how to move the world in a way that we actually can do it, not what we idealize as what could be. We've got plenty of that. Beautiful, beautiful visions of the world that's cooperative, that's loving, that's humanitarian. And we have lots of analysis of what got us into the place where we're not that way, where we're selfish, rugged individualism still rules the day. How did that happen? What's our history? How did we get where we are? Brilliant analysis. So we really understand that this crossroads that we're on, where we're up against what could be our destruction. You know, that has not been the case in the past as we have moved along and, progressing. And always conflict, always unworkability, what have you. But never until whatever, I'm not sure when we would date this, maybe from the explosion of the first atom bomb, but we are so interconnected now, even beyond that particular threat, which is terrifying. We're so interconnected as one world. We operate, you knock the internet down and civilization is over. We are so dependent on each other and yet destructive of each other. I mean, are we crazy? Yes, we really are. We really are. I can picture a future where I shouldn't even say that because, well, you can picture like what would happen if a nuclear horrible thing happened. And we would look back and we would say, why didn't we do something? We didn't take any action.
Correct.
We let it happen. Yeah. So what could we do? You know, what I'm just one person. Well, that's what everybody says, you know. Oh, if I recycle, what good is that going to do? I mean, I'll do it, you know, I'll do all those kind of things, but how do we handle everything? Well, that's what I keep looking for. And strangely enough, nobody else is looking for that. I mean, it is the weirdest thing. How many business me? I have ideas that nobody else has. Well, until you prove it to me that somebody else is in my groove, I'm telling you, I'm the only person I can find that's looking for what we can do now to get out of a world of greed and get into a world of caring. It's so vital that we do this. Every day, we could have some cataclysmic event. And of course, global warming is descending upon us, you know, but instantaneously, seriously, I don't know if you've ever seen any of those, like The Day After, which is hugely, a very huge television event in the 40s, once after, you know, we acquired nuclear power. And it pictured what the world would be like if we had some nuclear devastation. And, you know, anybody looking at that would go, oh my God, we can't do this. We've got to do something about that. Well, we aren't. You know, we are letting the oligarchs rule. It's almost like kings and serfs again, you know, where the money is so concentrated. And although when you look at the number of billionaires, it's like, is this possible? There are so many billionaires. But at any rate, you know, this much of the population, and they've got us. I mean, they're controlling our world. So what I'm looking for is what to do an end run around that, you might say. And what is it that this one little person can do besides, you know, recycling? So here's my take on if I ran the world. If I ran the world, I would teach the world a new creation story. Every civilization has one. Every civilization has a story about where they came from, what they're doing here, what purpose of life is. We have an old one. It served us very well before, when the Industrial Revolution and rugged individualists built this incredible world we have. But then it kept going. It kept going with material success being the objective. And then more and more material ended up in fewer and fewer hands because they were successful. And the rest of us, how much of the world is in survival? You know, go back to Maslow's hierarchy. When you don't have enough food, you don't think about consciousness. You don't think about how the world could work. You think about getting a meal.
Sure.
Yeah. So if you were going to look objectively at what the stuck world, just to analyze it, you would see that income inequality is the thing to address to bring everybody up to where everybody has food, shelter, education, healthcare. They don't have to all be rich. The rich can still be rich, but not that rich. I mean, one of my recent Substacks that you saw, Mary, is no more billionaires or no billionaires. You know, we don't need billionaires. None of them need $1 billion. But that's on the objective thing of what we would do to fix the main stuck point or the main thing that keeps us stuck. But where are we going to get the motivation to fix that? As gadflies, which all of us wised up people are, all gadflies, all poking away, very intelligent, very good analyses, very good future scenarios of how we could be. But now, the way to me isn't to work on individual issues. How do we fix this and change that? But it's to work on our attitude, our feeling, as a culture. If we care about each other, we're going to create a different world from if we're climbing over each other. So caring about each other would be a function of a new creation story about where we came from. And science has given us the elements of that story, which is kind of fascinating since science is our God. We accept science, but we haven't yet tuned in to its latest discoveries, which would give us this new story of being one humanity, all interconnected. Science proves it to us. You know, from the Hubble telescope, which was hundreds of years ago, we thought before that this was a fixed universe. Everything was set. Nothing was moving. We were on this globe, this thing called Earth. It was here for us to use. But Hubble, you know, do you know before Hubble, we thought there was just one galaxy, ours? The estimate now is 2 trillion, and that may be low.
Yes, and we
So,
understand now that science is progressive. It's evolving too.
oh, absolutely. Science, you know, yes, that's, you know, so here, the God of science tells us we are an evolving universe. That means it started. Let's say here it is. It started. Nothing. Very strange. I mean, we could talk about that forever. Where'd that come from? What was before that? Well, we can't get before that, right? You know, ask God, you know. But it started. Let's say the Big Bang, controversy, but here it is. So it started. Well, it started and it evolved, and it's moving. It's not fixed. It's still evolving. And all of us are in that one thing. We are interconnected. So if we are one humanity interconnected, and we get that humanity is the top of the evolutionary situation, we've taken over, you know, the gorillas aren't running the world. They aren't changing anything. We're the only species that can change things, and we do. We've actually taken over from that slow evolution with our industrial capacities and our, you know, medical capacity. We change things faster than this slow evolution. It's in our hands. It's in our hands, and we're one humanity. And I feel that so keenly that I am responsible for everyone, as everyone is responsible for me. I can feel the connection. So if I were running the world, I would teach the world this new creation story as where we are one humanity, proud, ennobled, wanting the best for everyone. So if everybody felt that, like I do, we would create the world we want to be in. And we have the internet. Isn't it amazing that no one has put up a flag on the internet for people like you and me and all the other good organizations that have their purviews? They do this, they do this, they do this. Nobody's put us together. We could be a mighty force. Nobody's called us to come together. You know, in that regard, I've been a friend of Marianne Williamson's for forever, maybe a long time. And I kept watching her running for president here, kind of a crazy thing to do, but nonetheless, she's so different from every other politician because she's tuned in to this spiritual aspect of life, of the beauty of humanity, the beauty of our souls. And on Martin Luther King's birthday, she gave a talk. I spread these things on my Substack when I come across things like this. And she gave a talk that included talking about his idea about the beloved community, that we should be the beloved community. Well, that's the oneness of humanity. And so I've been urging Marianne, Marianne, what you can do now, even better than being the president. What a hard job that is. Call the beloved community, get millions of people, bigger than the Democrats and the Republicans, and not political. You're not going to fight against anything. You're just going to gather all of us. And now you have a force, you have a body of that's powerful. Look, how do people express themselves when they want to be forceful? They take to the streets. Oh my God, is that hard? I'm amazed that works, actually. People go to Washington on buses and what have you, or all over, that they turn out in such incredible numbers in the streets, which is testimony to how upset or how passionate people are for better things to happen. But we have the internet. It's a highway, we can all join together on the internet. And then we need some kind of governing body or thinking body or think tank or committee or something to figure out what our masses of millions would devote themselves to, promoting. So I actually have a lot of ideas for all of that. So I'll tell you how I think that could work. Get one very well-known and beloved person to start it. Should we just say Oprah, just for the sake of, because everybody knows who Oprah is, and she's got good intentions for the world, has done a lot, actually. Okay, let's just say Oprah. Oprah invites one other person. Who's she going to invite? George Clooney. I'm in the movie stars. It doesn't have to be. It could be just anybody who's that attractive and powerful. The two of them invite the third person. The three of them invite the fourth person. All not controversial figures, but beloved figures. And they're the Wisdom Council. They're the ones that tell the coalition for the good, whatever you're going to call these millions of people who have organized on the net, said yes, but have just bought into saying yes to being part of this influential body. So, and then a little third pillar of my schema, have a suggestion box that anybody in the world can send ideas in to send to the Wisdom Council. And, we talk on our Zoomy things or our comment tracks and have people talk about these suggestions to hone them, see which ones come up as popular enough, and send it to the Wisdom Council. Hey, Wisdom Council, advocate for this. Call our millions of people in this coalition to support this. They all have groups that they belong to. They all get on. Just spread words that way, take advantage of the technology we have to create the world we want to be in. Well, nobody's even trying to do that.
Can I ask a question? Because I know that you are persistent and you're a tremendous communicator. Suzanne, have you contacted Oprah or George?
I have not. I don't know these people. If anybody could put me in touch, I would be a very happy person. Greta Thunberg, when I think about international, she's another one. You want to help me contact somebody? I mean, I think this is an excellent game plan. I've actually tried to make connections. These people are, not readily available. But what I've been mostly looking for is not so much that step of finding like that person, but getting myself a team where, we can creatively together, like a think tank, think about, well, how would we contact them and what would we do? And, there needs to be a team at my end, not just the Wisdom Council team, but dreaming up all these things I've been talking about. I keep looking for where's my team. And I don't know, I seem to be so different from everybody that it's people support me, that yes, Suzanne, go, but engaging with me to try to make it happen. Something else again. I had do you know about my essay contest? You may not know that, Mary, because you're kind of.
Let me tell you what I want to ask you about. The essay contest was it is a brilliant initiative, and I love it. What I want to ask you about is, what are your thoughts that it took offering money in order to get responses?
Ironic, isn't it, that I'm the anti-capitalist lady and I'm offering money that created. Well, the truth is, if I had put out this contest, and the essay contest was write an essay about how the world got saved. You're in 2050, and you're looking back and saying, well, in 2024, what I did was, and it has to start with you. What did you do? You have to get yourself in there. Fantasy, what did you do? I sat next to Steven Spielberg and I told him this idea, some way that this developed, and it was an idea that could save the world.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had put that out as me, I would not have gotten any entries, if I had been Oprah and put it out without any prizes, she would have gotten a lot of entries. But I didn't have the power to make that happen. So I thought, well, how am I going to get people to take this contest seriously? I'll put out money prizes. And of course, it was true. I mean, that's the world we live in. So
yes, and you had hundreds of responses.
I got about 175. Kind of surprised me that I had so many. And some absolutely wonderful things. And I've been fiddling with them. This was a couple of months ago that it ended, and I awarded my prizes. I gave out $14,000 worth of prizes. And I've been fiddling ever since with the essay contest writers. One of the surprises, I got wonderful essays, but one of the surprises was the reaction of the writers in talking about what they did, mm-hmm. and how exciting it was to them, or stimulating it was to them to be asked to think about that. It's like, everybody, oh my gosh, what can I do? I'm just one person. It's true, what can you do? You're just one person. But so people they're passive, oh, I can't do anything. So when I invited them to think, it was like, oh, I have ideas. It changed their energy. And I was so thrilled by that. And so I've been working with those essay contest writers, the ones who have this more similar passion to mine, to actually really dig into the world. And we've been in a little think tank thing. It's difficult.
Yes, and I do think one of that you've dropped nuggets that they are growing from the experience. And through all this, I think that maybe the next time they will give altruistically, because you started the ball rolling, and it won't take money.
Mary, so I have a few cherished ideas. So one of my cherished ideas is that as I saw the effect on people from being asked to think, thought, well, what if everybody's thinking and writing essays? Now that this started, I could see it catch it. Like, you remember the ice bucket challenge where everybody was dumping buckets of ice on their heads for ALS? It I don't know if it's right to say it went viral, but it was everywhere. It was on talk
Yes.
shows. They were talking about it
Mhm.
on TV. It was all over the net. Well, what if writing essays was all over? It just got to be the thing to do because it was good. It
Mhm.
made everybody feel good. It
And
was
it
good
costs
thinking.
nothing.
It costs nothing. Exactly. Exactly. So that's one of my cherished ideas. And then I'm trying to, how can we do that? How can we get that thing? I keep actually teasing with that. I ask it here and there and everywhere among my essay writers as well. So that's one of the things that I think actually
Very
would
good.
be quite wonderful. Just like getting a coalition to happen, getting essays to happen, flood the net with essays, because not only would you have these interesting ideas presented, but you'd be talking about it. You know, each person's essay would have their own generation of dialogue, you know. So you get the world thinking about what can happen, and that's a first step, you know. How do you change the world? Get people thinking about how to change the world. Until you start thinking about it, here we are, you know. So that seemed perfect to me, and I'm working on that. So,
And
Mary,
Suzanne, I appreciate that. And I jotted down what was your spark.
for doing the essay contest,
Whatever,
my
yes, what was the
frustration,
spark?
my frustration that nobody was thinking about what to do. I said, you know, oh, if I do make people write and then put money on it so they'll do it, people will start thinking about what to do. I mean, at that level, it worked very well. Now we're still at the, lower level of this, but hey, who's listening? Come on, help me. Oh God, if I could get one influencer, major influencer, get Taylor Swift to come help me. I mean, the funny thing is that several of the essays had Taylor Swift in them. I started this little club and it was about something good. And Taylor Swift joined, and then she got clubs to happen all over several of the essays, but it's true too. One major figure comes out with something and you're off and running. So so
Well,
far,
have you always had such propensity to get things going?
yes. Yes, yes, you want my childhood story of where I think that all started?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm 5 and I go to kindergarten and I discover I am the only Jewish child in the class. What is Jewish? I'm not quite sure, but I'm it, and nobody likes it. And so I very early got the idea that the world was a very antagonistic place for no reason. What what's wrong with me? And why are people so hostile to me? Well, they couldn't be too hostile since I was always the smartest one. I was the head of all the clubs, and they couldn't really cancel my vote, but they sure, I still to this day, like, I'm doing whatever I'm doing, and I see some people over there whispering to each other. It's a visceral reaction. They're talking about me bad, because that's what would go on in school, because the kids were all the product of their parents, and the
And
parents,
you also are empathetic to others. So, yes, you would feel it.
well, that really made me empathetic, because it was so difficult to be the victim of this, that I didn't want anybody else. I
Oh,
was always befriending. I even thought of them as the little people, the ones who didn't have a voice, who weren't enthusiastic
them,
like me. Pardon me?
them.
Yeah.
We're called them, those.
Well, I was always supportive of them. I was, trying to help them, whatever. But that,
Oh,
it's funny what you're the product of. And I know that prejudice got me thinking about not having a world that be that way. And everything since 5 years old has been, how do I make it a fair world where people are nice to each other? Uh, so,
And
you
I'm
know,
sorry that you had to go through that and feel that awful side of humanity. And I would hug
they
you
say
right now
everything's
if I
for a good
could.
reason. They
Yeah.
just say that. And when you look back on your life, as I say, there was a lot of pain from that. But look, I think it created who I am. So, I can't be resentful
Mhm.
about that. I can just say, well, isn't that interesting? This is how the world works. But I also I had very uh, intelligent, well-educated, successful, caring parents, and I was an only child, and they expected me to be good. I mean, there was kind of a joke in our house. I would come home from school with a 98, and my father would say, "Where are the other 2 points?"
Ooh.
It was only sort of a joke. And it wasn't like they drove me hard. It was just they expected me to be excellent. And so I expected me to be excellent. Uh, so I've always just had that idea that I am supposed to be very good.
Yes,
Uh,
and your parents could focus on you.
really, really, I was very fortunate. People have pointed that out to me. And then I think, well, right, you get born into poverty, and some people, of course, transcend it, but it's a hard road to hoe. And but I got born into enthusiasm. For
And I
me,
applaud you. I applaud you.
well, that's wonderful. You know, I appreciate being appreciated just because I'm really trying to do something. And so people who get that, I'm just very appreciative. Not everybody still understands me, particularly when I say I'm the only person looking for what we the people can do. Oh, Suzanne, everybody's looking for that. No, they aren't. They're thinking long range. They're beautiful ideas about how we could be. I mean it. Very beautiful articulations of, if you did all the things right, how the kind of world we could create. But nobody's working on how to get there in any timely fashion. Uh, and it's a complicated world. These gears are in there tight. So I always say, thought for a long time, uh, what sense it makes that alcohol is legal and psychedelics aren't, because alcohol keeps everything in place, but psychedelics give everybody different ideas. And the power structure does not want different ideas. The power structure
Mm,
wants it to be the way it is, with the power on top.
mm. And it's also interesting too, Suzanne, that science is going back to ancestral stuff that our ancestral folks knew all along.
Absolutely. The ones who weren't sophisticated by the Industrial Revolution and what have you, the native cultures, they were of this. They didn't get distorted and think that they were more uh, important than the people who didn't have as much as they had. Uh, so yeah, we still go back to our indigenous cultures to educate us, to tune us in to what it is they've never departed from.
Yes, it's
Uh,
too bad that didn't happen in the scientific European community back then.
well, you can just look back and say, well, I understand it. I understand it. We needed that sense of individual uh, power to build this incredible world we have. Uh, another thing to say about the whole evolutionary process is, if we were all blissed out, and let's say we'd always been blissed out, oh, we've always been like the indigenous cultures, we've always been like that, we wouldn't have the world we have, because it's the difficulties that get us to overcome them. It's the challenges that get us thinking in the next evolution of thought. So you can almost, thank all the things that didn't work for creating our intelligence that got them working. And still, it's fine to be challenged. It's just so dangerous now. Everything's different from, I don't know, 100 years ago. It's not, we can't just sit by and wait and think, oh, things will happen. It will be okay. Oh, yeah, maybe. But
Yes, and we are definitely stronger together than apart.
for sure.
And I think the divide and conquer stuff is actually being challenged. And, and like you, people want to find their tribe.
Well, it certainly is. When you do. Yeah.
Tell me what your tribe looks like.
What is my, well, it occurs to me to say this to you. In this kind of dossier I have of the kinds of things that would work in a world where we were creating it to be cooperative, and what could we instill now? What could we, the people, get to have happen? So it's a big coalition of people, but there's also things that are not so dramatic, you might say. And one of them is, if everybody was in what I call a circle of trust, and I say it's 8 people who are staying in touch, helping each other. If you all felt like you belonged and people cared, there's so much loneliness and so much suffering from this.
Would you call them intimates?
Yes, you would have 8 intimates in a circle of trust where you would, repeatedly meet, and once a week, but you'd be in touch with one another and you'd be there to help each other. You'd feel like you belong to something. Your little community,
Can I be in one? Can I be in yours?
everybody. Yes, be in mine. Yeah, I would like to find mine. That would be quite wonderful. That's kind of top of my agenda right now. Find my core group that I can think with, just like the Wisdom Council would think about the big issues. I would think with my core group about all the things that we could set into motion that would create this world that we so need to be in. So I'm on the prowl. Mary, I'm going to write you down for membership. But seriously, I am looking for that little core group. And, I keep putting out in my Substack my ideas, my requests. But,
Where do your ideas come from?
God, now that you've asked me that and I've answered that, in the 80s, I did something very uncharacteristic. I'm not a woo-woo person, at that extreme end of crystals. And I don't know if there's any crystal people, forgive me, there's probably good in them, but I'm not a woo-woo person. But for some reason, back in the 80s, I spent a period of time, couple months, where the first thing I did in the morning was I grabbed my pen. It was pen then. We weren't computer. So I grabbed my pen and just took my mind out. I wasn't thinking. I was just writing. And I ended up with a document that I barely changed. I, moved a few words around, but I didn't edit it. I didn't, do the kind of number you usually do on what you write. And I called it Inside the Intelligence, because the intelligence was speaking through me. When I go back and read that, I cannot believe my fingers wrote that. I don't know those things. And it was how humanity needs to be and what I was to do about bringing that to pass. So it's been my guide ever since. It gave me my mission, and it was to collect the heroes. It's like a 20-page document now, and I actually did put it into printable form, and I printed out a dozen or so of these back in the 80s. I gave them out to my best friends, whatever. Nobody understood what I was talking about. Well, I have that version that I can email to people, and they can see this lovely laid out document in email. And now I have some people saying, uh-oh, it's time, Suzanne, not uh-oh, it's time, Suzanne, you have to get this out. This is something that has to be seen, because it is a paean to humanity for what humanity needs to do, and my role in bringing that about. It's the smartest thing I have ever read, seriously.
What's the title?
I called it Inside the Intelligence. Hang on, don't go away. Okay, here we go. This is the bookmark. Is it backwards? It's backwards. Yeah, I don't know.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Can you give us your email?
Definitely tell you that. It's Suzanne, my name, Suzanne, at Mighty Companions, just the way it sounds, .org, not .com, .org. You know, I took that name from the Course in Miracles, which is just one of the, I love all those holy documents. They're all wonderful. So I don't pay attention to the Course in Miracles more than any other, but there's this wonderful passage in the little teacher's manual with the Course in Miracles. And it says, midway along in your path of being a teacher, and I think everybody's a teacher at some point, but midway along in your path, you will stop, I'm paraphrasing, you will rest a while, and you will shed unnecessary things, and you will not go on from here alone. You'll go on with mighty companions. It's a famous passage from the Course. And I thought, Mighty Companions, just what I'm looking for. So it's the name of I created a nonprofit decades ago so that I could spend before tax dollars instead of after tax dollars on all my good works. So, you know, my nonprofit is to support my good works. But it's about changing the world, changing the way the world thinks. That's its mission. And so my email is Suzanne at mightycompanions.org. And if anybody emails me, I'd be happy to. And if you have print material that goes with this, I'll give you the link that people
Okay,
can get
please.
this.
And yeah. I have read it, and I suggest that other people read it.
I didn't know you'd read it.
Yes. And the message that was for you personally, I think we also want to have people be open to the messages they can receive in the direction they need, and how powerful it is to receive outside of all that we know, because it's real and it's powerful. Thank you.
Well, the intelligence just told me to be a messenger. So in a way, you could say, I've actually sent it to a couple of you who said, could you put your name in here and see it right for you? So as I say, up till now, it's like people have not understood, but
sure,
I think the time may be now. Yeah.
Yes, the time is now, and we're being called to speak forth, to do forth, to be all that we are, and come out of our dogmatic the shells that we were placed in. So I commend you. And Suzanne, our time is coming to a close. I would like for you to say something to us that would carry us through.
Well, you know, the universe is all moving in the trajectory of progress is upward or forward. If you just look back, I mean, even in my lifetime, if Women's Lib hadn't come along, I wouldn't be sitting here. I was Mrs. Him for a long time. So we're improving all the time. And you know, you can take some comfort in that it's the master plan is to evolve and to get wiser all the time. And certainly wiser for humanity is to become a caring species. You know, that's the ultimate realization. Our bodies are pretty well in. This is it. You know, we're not in progress of, you know, getting improved bodies by and large. But our understanding is what is now in play to improve upon, you know, to understand that we're not just this separate person, but that we're just inextricably interconnected. We're interconnected in the cosmic soup. And so as we realize that, as we take on that understanding, that's what'll change the world. And just fingers crossed that we can do it before something cataclysmic happens that sets us back to, you know, Stone Age people. So, but you just have to keep a positive attitude. There's no point in all these people who say, oh, humanity's finished. Come on, where's that going to get you?
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Thank you.
You have to have your glass is half full. And
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Know that my home and my heart are open to you. Okay.
well, thank you so much for giving me this chance to, you know, spat out like this. So I appreciate that a lot.
My pleasure. Take care.